Hello everyone, and welcome to SUNUP. I'm Lyndall Stout. The researchers who study wheat in this field, along with those who answer many other agricultural questions for Oklahoma, got some big news this week.
That Kayleen and Larry, through the Ferguson Family Fondation, have committed a total of $50 million to this project.
We'll have more on what the historic gift for OSU Agriculture means for our state a little later in the show. But first, we're joined by Amanda Silva, our Extension Small Grain Specialist, with an update on Oklahoma's wheat crop. Amanda, let's kind of start with some of the challenges that producers faced last fall.
Yes, so last fall we had either too dry conditions, too wet conditions that delayed planting. And so wheat was planted a little late in certain areas, and we did have issue with forage production. So I heard that a lot of producers sold their cattle because did not have enough forage to feed their cattle. And we had that cold snap in November that slowed down the wheat development, and so we were seeing very small wheat throughout the state. But we collected samples here in this trial, forage samples, early in December, and now you look at the plots and you cannot tell where you actually cut the plant. So wheat it's growing, so there is some hope. We got some rain in December also, so we had that moisture for wheat. So I think February, March will be good months for us to pay attention and see what the potential of this wheat crop will be.
We are hearing some producers are adjusting management decisions because of low wheat prices. How could that impact quality down the road?
Yes, so that is very understandable. With the low wheat prices, producers are trying to reduce their input costs, and that is affecting the wheat quality. That can affect wheat quality. So one of the things, nitrogen is not only important for yield but also for protein concentration in the grain. So understanding how the varieties respond to nitrogen, it's very important to increase the nitrogen use efficiency of wheat production systems and also the net return of producers. So several management decisions like fungicide can be made up front. So you know if you have a variety that is susceptible to the most problematic diseases in your region, you know you're going to have to manage. For example, if you have a variety that is susceptible to stripe rust or leaf rust, fungal diseases, it's very, very good for you to know that up front you're going to have to manage with fungicide. Our breeding program have done a very good job on the genetic materials that we have nowadays. So we have variety options that have that potential, that high yield potential, that quality potential, and we have to be careful on how we cut the management so we don't harm too much the quality of wheat.
The ultimate outcome at harvest, of course. That's what we're all going for, but again, these are challenging times to say the least.
Yes, okay. Correct.
Great discussion, Dr. Amanda Silva. Thank you very much, and we will see you again soon.
Previously on the Cow-Calf Corner, we talked about the 3 stages of parturition or the 3 stages of calving. We didn't spend much time visiting about stage 2, and that's really where a lot of the action is. Stage 2 begins when we first see the appearance of the water bag or the baby calf's feet, and stage 2 is completed when the calf is completely expelled and out on the ground. And we mentioned that in the case of that first calf heifer that's never had a calf before, that we expect that to happen in about an hour. And in the case of the mature cow that has had previous calves, that needs to take place in about 30 minutes. If it goes much longer than that, the cow or the heifer probably needs some assistance. That extended delivery process can have quite a detrimental effect on the reproductive capability of that cow or heifer for the next breeding season. Work done years ago in the 1970s in Colorado showed us that cows that had a difficult birth had a lower pregnancy percentage the next breeding season on an average of about 14%. And not only did those cows not get bred, but those that had a difficult birth and still did conceive during the upcoming breeding season, the average calving date was moved back 13 days or almost 2 full weeks. And that means, of course, that their calves are going to be lighter when it comes weaning time the following fall. Work done up at the USDA station at Miles City, Montana, just back in the 1980s, also illustrated this same thing. They looked at 2-year-old heifers and decided whether to give these heifers early assistance. That means that if she wasn't making real progress in an hour, they provided assistance. Half of the heifers, they allowed them to go as long as it took for the heifer to go ahead and deliver the calf. Those that got early assistance, they had a tremendous difference, I think, in terms of the percentage of those that were cycling at the start of the next breeding season. There was a 17% difference. And when they looked at the pregnancy rates, comparing those 2 sets of heifers, whether they got early assistance or they waited till 2 or 3 hours had taken place, those heifers that took much longer in terms of delivering the calf, there was a 20% difference in the pregnancy rates the following breeding season, and therefore a much lower calf crop the following year. And remember, if you're doing the diagnosis of this cow or heifer that needs some assistance, and you run into something that isn't easy for you to handle in just a few minutes, call your local large animal veterinarian, get the cow in to get some assistance so that we can get that calf delivered in a timely manner. It'll be better for the cow, be better for the calf, and be better for your bottom line. Hey, we look forward to visiting with you again next week on SUNUP's Cow-Calf Corner.
To Oklahoma County now, and a glimpse into the future. SUNUP's Curtis Hare met up with the next generation of ag teachers.
Agriculture education for young people is a tremendous opportunity.
Shuffling in and out of the Edmond Agricultural Science Center, over 100 high school students are finding out what it takes to be an ag educator.
We have teachers kind of prepared this, put this event together. Students come here and look at all aspects of teaching agriculture education.
The event is called Oklahoma Teach Ag Day, and the goal is to recruit students into the field of ag education. Jack Statz is the state program manager of agriculture education for the state of Oklahoma. He says programs like this are necessary.
And I think it's very important that we recruit those young people in the profession to replace the ones that I know are going to retire shortly. Basically, any student that wanted to sign up and come to this event was welcome. Students from as far southwest, I've seen them up from Oologah, clear up to the northeast. I've seen them from central Oklahoma.
This is the event's second year, and participation is incredibly strong. A pleasant surprise for organizers such as Woodward ag educator Emily Sewell.
Last year we had an event. We were anticipating roughly 30 students to come, and with that we ended up with well over 100, and we were a little overwhelmed.
The strong turnout and interest in this career field are extremely encouraging to educators like Jack and Emily, considering the teacher shortage issue the state is facing.
Well, we have a shortage of teachers in the state of Oklahoma alone, and our teacher shortage is becoming even more increasingly important. After we had the teacher pay raise a few years ago, those teachers are reaching their 3-year max of their 3 years high salary. So what are we going to do to fill those teachers' shoes is a big question we ask all the time.
And I so appreciate the fact that our teachers have stepped forward and say, hey, let's have this program, let's develop this program. Let's recruit those young people to come into education.
We need to be recruiting our own students in order to come fulfill these job duties, because they're the ones who have the passion for agricultural education and the passion for FFA in order to fulfill those spots and continue agricultural education being as strong as it is today.
So this event has really allowed me to see the background that's not really seen by students of an agricultural education teacher.
Owasso senior Kaylee Hasselbring wants to pursue a career as an ag teacher, and having the opportunity to talk with educators about their career is invaluable.
It's really going to help advance me for my future profession, and it's letting me dive deeper into just the different aspects that ag ed entails.
Growing up in mostly urban areas, Kaylee never really thought about agriculture, much less a career in the field.
Agriculture was never at the forefront of my mind. I didn't grow up on a farm or around crops or livestock. Agriculture really became prominent whenever I joined my agricultural education program when I was an 8th grader.
That exposure changed her life.
I've really always wanted to become a teacher, but ag ed is what made me realize I wanted to become an ag teacher.
So one of the nice things about that in agricultural education teaching in general, they're building their network. They're learning about who can do specific things in terms of content area, have specific skills in terms of FFA, whether that's training a team, working with a livestock species or whatever it might be. They're learning, they're developing their professional network.
For Jack, who will hang up his educator hat for good this June, the success and interest in this event, as well as the dedication current educators like Emily have for this career, give him hope for the future.
You know, teachers sometimes are the world's worst of going, oh, you don't want to be a teacher, you don't want to do that. And so I appreciate the fact that our young teachers and our teachers as a whole have stepped up and put that positive spin on it and say, hey, I welcome you to come be part of my profession. This profession's been good to me.
In Oklahoma County, I'm Curtis Hare.
Hi, Wes Lee, and it's good to be back with you on the weekly Mesonet weather report. During a recent trip around the state, most wheat producers indicated to me that they have not been impressed with the forage produced from this year's crop. This wheat is from Enid and is about the best-looking grazed wheat I've seen. For wheat to be successful, we need moisture, sunlight, nutrients, and a temperature range suitable for growth. Most of these things are out of our hands to control. Soil moisture is currently in decent shape in all areas except the Panhandle and the far southwest. This 10-inch fractional water index map shows stations with about a 0.7 or higher representing good moisture conditions. The best way to look at temperatures for wheat is with degree days. Degree days accumulate anytime the temperature is above 40 degrees but no higher than 86. This table has degree days for Alva in the north and Tipton in the south as of January 14th. We see that the 780 at Alva is about 22% behind the 5-year average. Tipton comes in at just 13% below the average. Cloudy weather has not helped either. This map shows less sunshine than normal for the fall of 2019. Hopefully, growing conditions and forage will improve going forward. Now here's Gary with the first drought map of the year.
Thanks, Wes, and good morning, everyone. Well, last week's storm system certainly helped with drought relief in far southeastern Oklahoma, and we're hoping this week's storm will help with the rest of the state. Let's get to the new drought monitor map and see what we have. As you can see on the new map, we lost those colors in far southeastern Oklahoma, so good help with the rains there. But we do have a new area of abnormally dry conditions from southwestern up into central Oklahoma. And we also have that area of moderate to severe drought conditions up in the western panhandle. So if we look back at 60 days, we see that dry tongue pretty well from southwestern up through into central Oklahoma, all the way up into much of Payne County. We see those deficits, a percent of normal deficits, generally less than 50% of normal over that time frame. And we go out to 120 days, we see much of the western half of the state continuing with those deficits, and we see a continuation of also those deficits from southwestern up into central Oklahoma. So that's the basis for that tongue of abnormally dry conditions in that region. Now, if we take a look at the seasonal drought outlook from the Climate Prediction Center, this is valid for mid-January through the end of April. We do see drought relief expected in that area in southwestern Oklahoma, but that drought is expected to persist out in the western panhandle. Again, that's just an outlook. It doesn't necessarily have to work out that way. And if we look at the short-term outlook, this also from the Climate Prediction Center, this is for next week. We do see increased odds, greatly increased odds, of above normal precipitation right smack dab in the southern plains and the high plains across that area with the drought conditions in Oklahoma. So maybe a good 2 weeks more of precipitation will help eliminate much of that drought area across western Oklahoma and keep the other areas of the state out of drought danger. That's it for this time. We'll see you next time on the Mesonet Weather Report.
Earlier this week, there was some big news on the Chinese trade front. Kim, they came to an agreement with the U.S. What does that mean for Oklahoma commodities?
I think there's a potential for slightly higher prices. Now, coming into the agreement, I believe the impact was already factored into the market. But when they're going to come in and on the first year spend $12.5 billion on U.S. commodities, now that does include forest products, and the second year $19.5 billion. I believe that as they buy the corn, the wheat, the soybeans, and soybeans being the big product, that it's going to have some impact on prices, and that should be a positive impact.
So that's one side of it. What has been the market's reaction to all of the news?
Well, the day of the signing and the day after, you got corn prices there down a dime. Soybeans was down about 20 cents. Wheat was down about a dime. Cotton was down 2 or 3 cents. So as expected, I believe as expected, the market, they already had it factored in, and it backed off a little bit.
With all that positive news that we were hoping for that we finally got, why was the markets taking a lower rate there?
Well, what farmers normally do, or the market normally does, they anticipate positive impact of it, so they'll hold the product off the market until after the signing, and then that backed up commodity comes on the market and it drives it down a little bit. We'll have to watch out over the next couple of weeks, maybe the next couple of months, to see what the true impact of this phase one is on our agriculture commodities.
So overall, this has a potential to help Oklahoma farmers. Does that mean more planting in the summer with other crops?
Well, right now, I'd say the reaction is that there could be slightly higher planting in corn or beans, especially the soybeans. I think you got to look at the stocks issue. You got 1.7 billion bushels of ending stocks of corn, lots of corn, but you've only got 450 million bushels of beans in these stocks, relatively low. So I think there's probably more potential in soybeans. You look at China, they're replacing their hog herd after that disease that they had. They're supposed to have that back up, in the next couple of months. That means they'll be needing soybeans. So I think there's some potential there for beans. They could buy more wheat, and it looks like we may get slightly more demand for our wheat, and that could be positive for our prices. So yeah, I think it could help our producers.
When it comes to planting future crops, a lot of producers are going to be thinking about forward contract prices on some of those commodities. Is there potential for profit in those?
Well, remember the phase one's been signed. It's already in the market. You look at corn, $3.65. That's a 30 under the December contract. You got soybeans at $8.55. That's $1 under the November bean contract. Wheat at $4.70. I think that's a relatively good price. 30 under the July contract, KC contract. And cotton, I got at 66 cents. That's about a 3 cent under basis for cotton.
Should producers jump on those prices? Do you see any movement forward?
I think there's more potential, especially in soybeans and maybe in corn. On wheat, I think you might want to take a little bit of that if you're real nervous about price. I'm looking at slightly higher prices as we come into harvest.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Kim Anderson, Grain Marketing Specialist here at Oklahoma State University.
In September 2019, we had an unusual event occur in Tennessee. There was a large number of sows that died due to the bacterium Streptococcus equine subspecies zooepidemicus. This particular bacteria is common in the United States. As its name implies, it is associated with horses. We typically can find this in their respiratory tract or the uterine tracts of these horses. It also infects other animals, and it will even infect humans. So this was a rare event that had happened in the pigs. Since then, we've also had some incidents in some other states, Pennsylvania being the latest state that's had problems with this particular bacterium in pigs. Earlier in Canada, in April and May, they had a similar incident occur in which they had large numbers of sows and some feeder pigs die of this bacteria. So currently the USDA is investigating this. They're trying to figure out if this is strictly the result of this particular bacteria. There may be some other factors involved. We're just going to have to wait and see what they find. Another interesting fact about this particular bacteria is that in the 1970s, China had similar problems with this bacteria. And if we compare the genotypes between all these three different instances, they are very, very similar. So we're just going to have to wait and see what the USDA continues to find out about this bacteria, because it could have some negative impacts on the swine industry. The nice thing about the bacteria, if you catch it early enough, it is susceptible to most of our antibiotics. The important thing, though, I think for anybody who has pigs is to try to prevent this from ever entering their herd. And you're going to have to really practice good biosecurity. And I'd especially caution those of you who are in the show industry or showing pigs, you really need to be careful if you have a herd or a group of sows that you raise pigs out of. If you're going to a lot of shows, be sure that you have a place you can isolate those pigs when you come home so that they don't commingle with those sows on your farm. If you'd like some more information about this disease, if you'll go to sunup.okstate.edu.
Finally today, the historic moment on the OSU campus this week with the underlying mission of feeding the world.
I had the distinct pleasure in announcing that Kayleen and Larry, through the Ferguson Family Fondation, have committed a total of $50 million to this project.
Oklahoma State University alumni Larry and Kayleen Ferguson believe advancing agriculture through education and research will solve some of the world's biggest problems. That's why the Ferguson Family Foundation made one of the largest ever academic gifts in school history this week.
We want to be able to impact people throughout the world and help feed the world.
The money launches a campaign to build a new state-of-the-art teaching and research complex. The current agricultural hall was built in the 1950s.
It'll change the way we teach courses. It'll change the way we conduct research to be more collaborative, more interdisciplinary, and really be at the leading edge of innovation in teaching and research in agriculture, food, and natural resource sciences.
Well, what I want students to know about this day is it's something that they can always remember, to be part of the creation of something new, moving our industry forward, moving their college forward, helping to create spaces they're going to live on long after they leave here.
In addition to elevating student learning, scientists will be better able to advance agricultural research, innovation, and technology, which will reach every corner of Oklahoma through OSU Extension.
Having this opportunity to educate additional students and through Extension get that research out to all of our farmers and ranchers in Oklahoma, I think this is a gift that will see its impact decades from now, and incredibly important to the Oklahoma economy, but especially to our ag producers.
The county extension officer is just a great part of our local county communities, and so it's just a great part of our state.
Education at many levels, all with a much greater goal in mind.
We want everyone to join us and join the university to be a part of this, a part of feeding the world.
We're just very thankful, and we want to pass that legacy of education, agriculture, the importance it has in the industry today. I mean, they need employees, the employees need a place to get a good education in those majors, and we feel that Oklahoma State will provide that.
It's not just that this will be a big, wonderful school of agriculture with their name on it. It's about feeding the world. I mean, that's really almost a religion with them. And I think that's what makes this very special.
Well, agriculture is how this university got started, so of course one of the lead gifts should be in agriculture. And yet agriculture is one of those industries that often goes unheralded. And so it's really moving to see someone make this kind of a commitment to the very basic functions of agriculture and natural resource management.
The Fergusons have long supported the university and were instrumental in modernizing its dairy programs. All total, their foundation has given $55 million to agriculture. Construction on the new ag building begins in the spring of 2021, with completion likely in 2 years. That'll do it for us this week. Remember, you can find us anytime on our website, sunup.okstate.edu, and also follow us on YouTube and social media. I'm Lyndall Stout. Have a great week, and remember, Oklahoma agriculture starts at sunup.